watch it. I mean, who never wanted, who said never make too much money, but you got to consider that, that the pricing may be a little bit too high. I think Speed Shift is like $40 a month. That's not too much if you're a hardcore dirt fan, but if you're a casual person, are you really going to pay that? I mean,
right.
The thing with the mainstream is that it does almost guarantee reaching normal, regular people, and it may just start becoming too hard to reach normal people. If internet is the new TV, as Chris Cretin just said on the comment section, that can make it pretty difficult to reach regular people unless you advertise through Google or the mainstream people that control the actual ads online.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it could be a deterrent. And one of the only thing I have against the cell phone and all that is at least with the TV, you can be around a group of people, and I think that's something that the TV still does bring. It brings a community sense. I think that there's not a lot of people on their phone that are watching videos with their family on their phone or tablet. You see families gather around televisions and stuff like that. So I think that's why the TV kind of hangs on, is it's more a communal form of viewing. And I think that's what's going to keep it on there for a long time until internet can kind of transfer to the television, I guess you would say.
Gotcha.
A little bit more smoothly and kind of like the Amazon sticks and all that stuff.
Right.
Even their PlayStations, things like that. So I mean, I'm old enough to remember a world without the internet. I mean, I think you are too.
So do I. Yes, sir. Definitely. Rick Ryder comments and says, Chaz, you're exactly right. It's $405 a month. Dennis Bold says, where are they going to get that before you build them seats? Man, the idea and the goal is great, but the approach is way off. Dane Miller, somebody that's going to be joining me on Finish Line here in the next couple of weeks to talk about his chime in of motorsports. Me and him have agreements and disagreements. He's a damn good friend of mine from Georgia. Says racing, like most sports today, have become saturated by television. Anthony Riviera says younger generation doesn't watch TV at all anymore. Matt and Ash Wright says we have to get people off their ass and at the track. Matt, for once, my friend, me and you have to agree on something. Chaz, again, I do broadcasts, I do productions with them, but I have to say, and I always say it, my friend, nothing compares to being live. What do we do to get them out of the being in their cell phones and going to the bowling alleys? No offense, Chris Nunn, I know you're a bowler. Or going to the movies or going to dinners or going somewhere else and getting their ass to the racetrack to experience dirt track racing live. What can we do to do that and make it and fix that problem? Because I see that as a big problem in our entity. Big events, big crowds, yes. World Finals, Eldor, Knoxville. This is what breaks my heart. You go to Eldor, you go to the Dirt Late Model Dream, you go to the World 100, you go to the Kings Royal. Great car counts, great pit crowd in the back gate. No fans on Thursday. Friday, they pack the house on Saturday. Nope. Why is that, Chaz Thompson? Why?
Relevance to the sport. People just don't know it exists. People just don't know it's there. They've never heard of it before. What is a sprint car or late model? I guarantee you more people believe in aliens and ghosts than sprint cars or late models. I've said that a few times, people laugh, but it's true. I mean, the ignorance of the public to the cars and the sport of dirt track racing. That's all I got to say, oversaturated. It's oversaturated with NASCAR-style racing, but you rarely see a dirt car on a television unless somebody's getting killed. You don't see it. The last time I saw ESPN show a dirt car highlight, I think it was Knoxville, but before that, and that was like 2-3 years ago, but before that they actually did a little segment on a race that was going on there, was the Prelude to the Dream.
Right.
And they said it was, and the guy was like, oh, look, that's cool. It looks like Tokyo Drift. He had never seen it in his life before.
Okay, I find an insult by that. I do. I find an insult by that. You can't compare.
I see that as ignorance.
You can't compare.
Not insult.
Yeah,
it may be an insult,
insulting,
but
whatever.
Accident.
You can't compare damn drifting off of a movie.
That's the closest thing people know of to our sport. That's the closest thing people can honestly relate to our sport is drifting, which is why I don't really mind the NOS stuff they're doing with Sheldon Haudenschild and Stenhouse. Even though Sheldon Haudenschild's kind of the Dale Earnhardt Jr. of the World of Outlaws, but I mean, what I'm saying is, like, that is the closest thing that people can relate to what they see with our cars. It's drifting.
Gotcha.
Go out there and talk to regular people. I mean, it's just is what it is. They have no idea about it. Any person that's trying to promote this sport, the number one response you get is, "You mean dirt bikes?" I mean, we are in the gutter as far as relevance of this sport with the average American. No idea. That's why I say NASCAR kind of hurts the sport, because racing is NASCAR to these regular people. That's all they know. And whether they're doing it or not, I don't care. But that's just what it is. Because of the mainstream attention, that's all people know about. They don't know about anything else. So that's why they're empty. People can say there's so many more things to do nowadays and all that.
Yeah, but you pick on NASCAR, but you just pick on NASCAR. Most of the city don't even know that you're doing anything.
Well, most of the city don't know what a sprint car is or a late model is, or never heard of your track. I mean, and the tracks ain't even the problem. The track is a stage. The performers are the drivers and the vehicles. Those are the things that have to become important and mainstream. Not Eldora needs to be important, but a late model and Bobby Pierce needs to be big and important. A sprint car and Donnie Schatz or Darren Pittman or even Carson Macedo, who drives for Larson.
Right.
He needs to be a big deal.
Yeah, Jim
That's
O'Shields.
What people are going to come and see.
Jim O'Shields says in a comment, he says, example, my neighbor knows, he lives in Ware Shoals, South Carolina. Or I think he's actually moved somewhere in North Carolina, actually, Jim O'Shields did. My neighbor knows NASCAR, but has never heard of a sprint car or even Scott Bloomquist. And, right. Dane Miller says the kids of today are not gearheads. The children of today are into phones and games. I agree with you on that. They even have a hard time making friends because of these phones.
But kids are huge into idolization. You see how they idolize a guy playing a video game. They idolize this person. They idolize this girl on Instagram, or girls, or the transgender people. That's a horrible thing. Let's get them away from idolizing a transgender person. Let's get them idolizing these race car drivers. Now, the way you do that, you got to make it cool. You got to make it trendy. A lot of people knew what sprint cars were and late models were back in the era I speak of, before this marketing machine did a real good job of pushing stock cars to everybody and making that the king dog of the whole racing world. Now we're suffering a 30-year lapse of that being pushed into the minds and eyes of Americans to where they're the only things that exist.
I got you. But Chaz, here's my take on this. You pick on NASCAR, but my thing is this. Drag racing, NHRA, is struggling. IndyCar is struggling. They just got a brand new sponsor, NTT Data, as their title sponsor. They're still struggling. Formula One, and matter of fact, Dane Miller just commented on this. I was just thinking the same thing. Formula One is struggling, not only in the United States, but in the entire country, in the entire world. That's Formula One racing. So it's like, it's not just dirt. It's everything we're involved with. It's everything. I see football struggling. I see baseball struggling. Do what now?
I said, yet iRacing is on the rise.
Well, I think that one reason iRacing's on the rise, my friend, is like you said, people are into their damn cell phones. They're into being on laptops and computers. And I think it's really bogus and crazy that we have created a computer simulation. I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against it whatsoever. I played NASCAR 98 when I was a kid. One of the biggest things I loved was hitting the damn paintballs in turn one at Pocono and seeing cars hit the wall. Just playing with them. I love the video games. But with that being said, though, Chaz, that was fun. That was spending time with my dad or with my brother or my sister playing video games as a kid.
Right.
I remember playing Pole Position on Atari. We're going to talk about how old I am. I remember playing Pole Position on Atari. It's my first ever racing game, along with Pitfall and Pac-Man. But anyhow,
my first one was Mario Andretti Racing. They actually had sprint cars on it, Sega Genesis.
There you go. Yeah, they probably look like little blocks of Legos or something back in the day,
Yes.
But I mean, with that being said, though, my friend Chaz, is we live in a world today where you have got a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. You've got dirt racing paying for money. You've got a sprint iRacing series paying for money. That's crazy. We literally have kids playing video games and they're pocketing money. We've got people on Twitch.
And they're sitting at home alone, waking up, running thousands and millions of laps, looking at a screen. They're not interacting with their family. Right. They're not going out and getting a workout in. They're not really even caring to go into the real racetrack. I used to be one of those guys. I used to be a big-time sim racer back in the day, and probably attributed to why I was overweight at one time. But it's a very self-destructive lifestyle, those iRacing games, because you really are – talk about narcissistic. I mean, you literally are living your entire life all about you. So, I mean – and then they entice them with the money. I think that's a huge problem. Huge problem to be paying almost as much. It is more to win the Sprint Car Series online than it is to win at least most of your track championships. I don't know how much USCS's track championship is. I mean, I think ASCS is
like $5,000. It's $5,000, $10,000, something like that for the national championship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're paying these kids who, are exiling from the rest of the world and staring at a screen all day to do that, and I like I said, I'm not against the iRacing. You want to run it every now and then, but as far as it being took to the level that it is, it's a problem. It's starting to get more respect. You hear people talk about the racers on there almost as highly as some of the real racers. That's just insane. For all you iRacers out there, I don't know if you've lost your virginity yet or not. But a simulation, the difference between a simulator and a real car is masturbation and actually getting it on, buddy. There's a complete different world out there.
Oh, my goodness.
So
okay.
if you want
to sit there in your room, you really did not have to go there.
If you want to sit there in the room, and play with yourself on your steering wheel and pedals, you keep doing it. But the men out here are getting it on with the actual sensations that the world can provide. So get the hell out of your chair and go out there and try to race a little bit, or at least be a fan of the sport. Understand what you're doing ain't helping too much. It ain't doing anything for anyone but you.
Gotcha. Chaz, why do you think so many people think you're misunderstood and hated?
They listen to clips and not the whole thing. If everybody would listen to everything I had to say, I think we wouldn't have many differences. But they listen to one segment or two segments, and that's their. They don't even listen to a full video. They'll listen to the beginning. Just like even my Amber Balkan video, I started off talking about the differences and the sexist, racist ploys of the driver diversity program. But at the end of it, I pretty much point out how I should feel sorry for her, and we should look at this Amber Balkan example of how it's just all about money. It don't matter who you are, or where you come from. So, I mean, there's multiple points that I make that have different angles and come from different perspectives so that more than just one type of person can understand it. So I think people, if they listen to my stuff in entirety, they would understand it a lot more than if they did just clips.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about this, because I've listened to some of your rants, your videos. Okay. What possesses somebody to go all the way from Florida, drive all the way to California, drive all the way from California, all the way to Pennsylvania, because somebody says something to you or gets you hot? And what are you looking to come out of whenever you approach these people that I guess have a problem with you or want to controversially, conversate with you or have an altercation or whatnot? Obviously, I understand. Me and you understand the wording. Like for instance, last night when I said, you better bring your A game, fella, and I had a punching bag, doesn't mean I'm going to beat your ass. Doesn't mean I'm going to fight you. It was just an expression of, hey, man, you better have your A game on for this podcast, and same vice versa like you did. I'm going to take him to school or he's going to get a beat down, blah, blah, blah. And we live in a world today where people take things out of context and they twist stuff around and they get butthurt over it and they think they're upset. And I understand that. But what makes a man go from Florida to California, all the way across the country in 4 days, driving, no sleep, almost killing yourself, driving through the snow?
Well, I had sleep. I'm not a meth head, even though my teeth are bad. I had sleep. It just wasn't too many hours of sleep. One night it was 22 degrees, woke me up. I had 2 hours of sleep, but just in time to get to Chico. But keep going.
I got you. Well, I'm just saying, to drive, you almost kill yourself driving off a mountain, going into Reno, going into Nevada, getting to the racetrack, and they tell you we're sorry, but you can't come. And then, and again, I gotta fix a quote that I said earlier. You did not get banned from World of Outlaw events. Basically, they just simply said your
I can't
credentials.
do anything there.
You're right. Your well, and again, so Chris Creighton, in a way, he got banned because in addition of not